Hello and welcome to a video of information about a very important component of residential property inspections that are frequently encountered when we carry out our inspections, and that is in relation to the material asbestos. So basically the material asbestos, or the identification of this material, is actually specifically excluded from the Australian Standard for Building Inspections under Appendix D, Part P. However, in view of its significance and obvious safety risks, any quality and thorough inspection company doing pre-purchase or any residential property inspection should comment on whether or not they believe the material is present in a property, and should have the expertise to make a pretty comfortable and confident determination on whether or not it is. Notwithstanding that they do need to make disclaimers on any comments they would make in the area of asbestos and identification of asbestos, because it is excluded from the Australian standard. That's just the legal lie of the land. But it's far better to have an inspection company that does not do what the majority do, which is not going to comment on asbestos because it's excluded from the Australian standard, than to have one that will say, yes, based on our experiences, we will give you an opinion on where we believe that material to possibly be. However, we need to disclaim it because it's excluded from the Australian standard, which is what we do. So we try and certainly comment on the area, even though it's excluded. From a legal perspective, the lie of the land is that under workplace health and safety regulations, the only accepted method of concisely determining whether or not a residential property does in fact have the material asbestos present is by taking samples of a material and scientifically testing that material with an accredited laboratory under the NATA, which is the National Association of Testing Authorities, and that's the statute law in place for the determination of whether or not asbestos is present in a property. So whilst an inspector should and could and should give you an opinion on whether or not they believe it to be present, conclusively and ultimately scientific analysis is the only way that you can get confirmation on whether or not it is present. Okay, there are two types of asbestos found in residential property. One is bonded, which is known as Class B. That's the predominant form of asbestos found in residential properties. Now, when it's bonded, what it means is that the asbestos is actually bonded into sheeted material with either cement or a resin, and it's a lot safer, this form of asbestos use, than the other one, which is fibrous, which is airborne, and that's Class A. Very unusual to find that found in residential properties. The greater and predominant material is Class B bonded, which is encased in wall linings and roof cladding, and it's a lot safer. Okay, the reason for that is that Class B bonded asbestos, because it's sealed in the material that it's contained within, unless that material is broken and the fibres of asbestos are released, it doesn't pose a hazard, according to websites like the CSIRO, Department of Education and Training, and there's many other good factual content and information about the material. Nonetheless, it can and has been indeed a deadly, causes a deadly disease, mesothelioma, and it is extremely prevalent, the material asbestos or bonded asbestos, in a lot of houses within the Australian residential market. So we must be aware of it, and we must treat the material with respect. In essence, the summary from the experts is that if it's not damaged and contained within a sheeted material or a material, if it's Class B bonded, it's safe. When it's damaged, any Class B bonded material and fibres can be released, dangerous. But it's by far and away far less dangerous than Class A fibrous, which is the Navy and the Air Force, and that's really quite deadly stuff. But we don't encounter that in residential property. So based on our experiences of carrying out inspections, what we've found is that all properties up to the year 1983 are most likely to have bonded wall linings in the interior of a property, i.e. wet areas, bathroom, kitchen, laundry, those kind of places, sometimes in the bedrooms as well. As it was the fact is it was the predominant material used prior to 1983. Now, there are exceptions to that, of course. Properties can be significantly renovated, the material can be removed during that process, and on rare occasions, properties can be constructed prior to 1983 and not have used asbestos containing materials, but they may have used other materials like masonite, which is a weatherproof material as well, but it's not common. Basically almost 95 to 99% of the time you would find a property built prior to 1983, unless it's been significantly renovated, would contain some form of interior wall and ceiling linings within the interior area of a property. The other area you can get it is in the exterior. Now, again, based on our experience of carrying out inspections, we've found the year that this actually ceases to be factual is 1988, and that is where it was used for roof cladding materials and soffit linings, which is outside a residential property, but still used within the structure. So basically, asbestos, the areas where asbestos can be found predominantly in a residential structure: roof cladding, gutters, exterior cladding, soffit linings, sewer ventilation pipes, internal wall and ceiling linings, floor tiles, electrical meter boxes, just some examples. Again, prior to 1988 for residential construction, if it's exterior, 83 internal wall linings. The conditions relating to the removing of any Class B bonded asbestos, internal wall linings or outside linings, as of April 2019, any volume less than 10 square meters. Don't understand the logic in this because it just makes no sense to me. If you are going to remove asbestos and break it, it's going to be a risky and dangerous thing to do. But the legislation is that anybody can remove less than 10 square meters of fibro or bonded asbestos Class B material in a structure, as long as it's less than 10 square meters. If it goes over 10 square meters, you must engage a suitably qualified and licensed asbestos removal company. But there is that leeway of up to 10 square meters. We completely disagree with it because any material being removed that contains asbestos should be done by a professional, in our opinion, for the obvious health risks. Okay, in summary, the identification of the presence of the material within a residential structure is actually excluded from the Australian standard for building inspections. However, any thorough and competent building inspection company should be prepared to comment on whether or not they believe it to be present and where, but they will need to disclaim their comments for the legal necessities. Class B bonded asbestos is the most prevalent form of asbestos used in residential property construction, and it is the safer variety compared to the fibrous asbestos, which is airborne. Houses before 1983 will probably contain it in the internal areas, and houses up to 1988 will probably contain it in the exterior areas like soffit linings as the most common area. Legislation governs the identification and the removal of the product, workplace health and safety regulations amongst others. Okay, so there are strict laws about this material, but I hope all of this information has given you some sort of feedback and information about the material asbestos during your property house hunting. And of course, you're most welcome to contact us should you require any more feedback on the area. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you need any assistance in the future with a building and pest inspection, we'd love to help you out. Thank you.